A battery without an anode that is supposed to have longer ranges for electric cars and lower battery production cost. This new battery from QuantumScape is now set to be installed in a motorcycle from VW and Ducati. And it not only has a solid electrolyte, but apparently no anode either. To me, that sounded totally crazy at first, and that's why we are taking a look at it today to find out whether electric cars will soon be running on anode-free batteries and whether the term anode-free is actually a bit misleading. I spoke to several battery experts about it, and today I will give you a deep dive into the topic. And with that, guten Tag or welcome to the German Science Guy. I'm Dr. Jakob Beautemps, and in Germany we say Los geht's. So battery manufacturers are now promising the next generation of batteries, lithium-ion batteries completely without anodes. Higher energy density, simpler manufacturing, and above all, lower production costs. When I spoke with the expert, Professor Janek from the University of Gießen in Germany lately for the video about solid-state batteries on this channel, he told me right now virtually every major battery company is working on an anode-free battery. QuantumScape is at the forefront of this development. Last year, together with VW and Ducati, they unveiled the first motorcycle powered by an anode-free battery. But the Chinese battery manufacturer CATL is also in the game with this technology. According to their own statements, it is currently working on a dual power battery for electric cars, in which the anode-free battery is to be combined with another, let's say, normal battery, so lithium-ion batteries, sodium batteries, or nickel-manganese cobalt batteries. The normal battery is then intended for everyday driving, where you don't cover such long distances, and the anode-free battery is only used when you really have long distance ahead of you. CATL is making some big promises here. Faster charging, longer range, withstands temperatures down to -40 degrees, cheaper, safer, and so on. But what exactly is behind this anode-free battery? Okay, first a quick reminder of what a battery typically looks like. There's the positively charged cathode, the negatively charged anode, and an electrolyte, an ion conductor that transports ions or charged particles back and forth. The anode is often the part with the most complicated manufacturing process. The reason for this is the anode material, graphite. And graphite has other drawbacks as well. The material limits fast charging and energy density, which is at most 700 watt-hours per liter here. That's not so bad at first glance and corresponds to the maximum performance for lithium-ion batteries, but there's still room for improvement with other approaches. That's why in the future the focus will be on using lithium as the anode material. Lithium has an ultra-high specific capacity. In concrete terms, this means a lithium anode can store an enormous amount of charge per gram. This allows for the construction of batteries with significantly higher energy density, making them smaller and lighter. However, lithium should only be used as an anode material if the electrolyte is solid. The key word here is safety. Lithium is quite reactive and does not mix well with liquid electrolytes. This can lead to short circuits or even fires more quickly. And there's another requirement for lithium anodes. To achieve the highest possible energy density, the lithium anode must be quite thin. However, especially lithium anodes are often thicker than necessary. This creates three problems. First, lithium is constantly lost during charging and discharging. The excess lithium can compensate for the losses. That sounds pretty good at first, but it means the measured efficiency is higher than the actual efficiency and you don't immediately notice the lithium loss. The second problem, the excess lithium is of course expensive and takes up space, which in turn reduces the energy density. And then, of course, there's still the problem of dendrite formation when there's too much lithium in the system, but we'll come back to that later. To prevent all of this, the solution is to use lithium anodes that are as thin as possible, or rather a lithium foil. But that's not so simple. The manufacturing process is quite complex and above all very expensive. The lithium foil must be applied to the current collector, but because lithium is so highly reactive, very specific conditions are required, and that's not so easy. So the lithium anode is causing battery manufacturers and researchers quite a few problems. That's why an idea came up a few years ago. What happens if we just leave out the anode for now? So instead of an anode, they simply install an uncoated current collector. And the key phrase here is really At first, the battery is actually only anode-free during production. So admittedly, the name is a bit misleading. After all, a battery cell can only function if it has an anode and a cathode. So the important point, or as we say in Germany, des Pudels Kern, which means the core of the poodle, actually this is by Goethe, it means the crux of the entire technology is when the battery is charged for the first time, the lithium anode forms on the current collector. This is simply a metal foil that then conducts the current flow to the electrodes. You can visualize the formation of the lithium anode on this metal foil as follows. As soon as a voltage is applied to the battery, electrons migrate via the outer circuit from the lithium-containing cathode to the anode side. However, the charges are then unevenly distributed and must be balanced. That is why the positively charged lithium ions migrate from the cathode to the current collector on the other side. The electrons are essentially waiting there and they then combine with the positively charged lithium ions. This creates lithium, which is then deposited on the current collector. So now we have a thin layer of lithium on the current collector, an anode. Isn't this like the most genius idea ever? So this means the anode consists only of as much lithium as was actually needed for the charging process. So there is no excess material here. As soon as the battery is discharged, this process runs in reverse. The lithium is drawn out again and migrates back to the cathode. And the absence of an anode has one major advantage in particular. It gives the battery a very high energy density. In fact, researchers from South Korea are currently reporting energy densities of up to 1270 watt-hours per liter. Back for comparison, lithium-ion batteries with graphite anodes reach a maximum of 700 watt-hours per liter. So this sounds great, but it should be noted, however, that they build very light and thin cells with an aluminum outer casing. In other cell formats, the energy density could be slightly lower. For anode-free batteries, this ultimately means that the battery will either be smaller and lighter, or with the same volume as current batteries, will be able to store significantly more energy, and by that also have a longer range. There are also significant advantages in manufacturing. You simply eliminate the entire anode production process. That means less lithium and consequently lower material costs. Production time and costs are reduced, and the process also requires less energy overall. By that, production is said to be up to 33% cheaper than with standard lithium-ion batteries. But note, this really only concerns the lower production costs. Whether the battery will ultimately be cheaper than currently available batteries and what technological hurdles still need to be overcome, that's what we will cover now in the big hurdle of this video. I have this in every of my videos. It's like the limitations, like the hurdles of new innovations, and we will take a look at that now. Before that, go ahead and subscribe now and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any more videos, and if you like, you can also become a member and support my work. Okay, let's get into the big hurdle. Before anode-free batteries can actually hit the market, however, two major issues still need to be resolved: commercialization and poor capacity retention. And to take a closer look at this, I spoke with one of the experts in Germany about batteries, Tom Bötticher. He is a chemist and an expert in the battery field. And he explained to me what is currently still the biggest technical hurdle for anode-free batteries. So one major point is, during the first charging cycle of anode-free batteries, lithium deposits on the current collector. However, this does not result in a uniform lithium layer, but rather, depending on the circumstances, a highly uneven layer. On the one hand, this creates dead lithium, so electrochemically inactive and by that ineffective lithium. And in anode-free batteries, this loss cannot be compensated for because there's simply no excess lithium in the cell. As a result, the battery loses a significant amount of capacity, with some studies reporting losses of up to 70%. The uneven distribution of lithium on the surface creates something like small lithium mounds. This leads to current hotspots where the lithium is particularly likely to continue growing in the next cycle. And this then can contribute to a well-known problem in battery technology, dendrite formation. You can imagine dendrites as small lithium branches. These branches can pierce through the electrolyte and by that cause short circuits, among other things. Admittedly, this heterogeneous surface is not the only factor that triggers dendrite formation. Other factors include, for example, an unsuitable electrolyte or poor lithophilicity, that is a tendency of the current collector and the lithium to react evenly with each other. And then there's the third problem, an unstable SEI phase. SEI stands for solid electrolyte interface, a protective layer between the electrolyte and the lithium. Among other things, this layer facilitates lithium-ion transport, protects the electrolyte, and by that extends the battery's lifespan. The stability of this layer depends heavily on the electrolyte. A stable SEI layer is, however, quite important for anode-free batteries because it can extend the battery's lifespan. And the SEI layer consists in part of lithium ions. So anode material is lost again and the capacity shrinks once more. In short, even though many anode-free battery cells achieve a very high energy density, they can usually only be charged and discharged a few hundred times, so their lifespan is still very short today. But there are applications for exactly these types of cells. For example, in drones, which need to be very light and able to fly long distances, but are only used a few times. I also talked to Tom about how these new batteries can get into the market. Before the anode-free battery is even ready for the market, work needs to be done on capacity and lifespan. Both factors must be significantly improved so that the batteries are somehow affordable. The cost per kilowatt hour and the energy density of anode-free batteries are already top-notch, but right now they usually only manage just under 400 charge cycles. To compete with lithium-ion batteries, however, they would need to last significantly longer. Depending on the context, in cars, they need to manage about 800 charge cycles. In stationary cells, though, they need to handle up to 10,000 charge cycles. And anode-free batteries are still quite far from that right now. And there's a second problem with commercialization. As I mentioned, anode-free batteries are always solid-state batteries. In my last video on solid-state batteries, I already discussed how the solid electrolyte causes major problems with scaling up, in part because it would require building entirely new production lines on a gigafactory scale. So far, there have mainly been new prototypes popping up every now and then. Beyond that, however, there's nothing yet. And Tom told me again, building a single battery cell is easy, but building hundreds of thousands in a row is a whole different ballgame. And he really knows what he's talking about. So, as you can see, the technology is still very much in its infancy, and that means it will likely be several more years before anode-free batteries go into mass production. When I was researching the update on solid-state batteries, I was told time and time again, car manufacturers have to plan their models at least 5 years in advance. That means even if the technology were perfect today, it would still be a long way from hitting the mass market. So we'll have to be patient for a while longer, but QuantumScape, Ducati and VW have at least already installed their anode-free battery in a motorcycle. And in doing so, they have proven that the concept works. But the motorcycle is after all just a test for now. So it remains to be seen whether everything will work out in practice. And it won't be hitting the market anytime soon, at least not right now. In any case, I'm very curious to see how this all will develop over the next 5 to 10 years. Press releases like CATLs on dual power batteries already offer a glimpse into the future. Whether these are just empty promises or if there's actually substance behind them, we will see. I will definitely be keeping an eye on it and I will update you if there's any new news. But I want to know one thing from you, because I talked to my mom about it. She needs to get a new car. And she doesn't want to get an electric car because she thinks there's so much innovation coming right now that it's not worth investing in an electric car right now. Actually, I'm driving an electric car, so I have a different opinion. But I want to know, do you have an electric car? And if you don't have one, do you wait until the technology gets better before you get a new electric car? Because I think there's a funny thing behind that, because by all the innovation that is coming, maybe the rollout of electric cars is reduced because people still have the feeling they wait. I hope you understand what I mean. I'm very curious about the discussion in the comments. And with that, I say auf Wiedersehen, which means goodbye. Thank you for watching. Your Jacob.